For hundreds of years, the very name Sparta struck fear into the hearts of its enemies. This was a civilization forged in the crucible of discipline and war, where children were molded into deadly soldiers from the age of 7. Kings fought and died alongside their men, and their military might seem unstoppable. They became the stuff of legend, but as with all empires, their time in the sun was finite. The great irony of history is that the very source of their unparalleled power, their rigid, militaristic society, ultimately became the catalyst for their downfall. The origins of Sparta are shrouded in myth and legend, with tales tracing its lineage to Lacedaemon, a son of Zeus. Historically, it is believed the city-state was founded around 1000 BCE by an unknown Dorian ruler. Regardless of its beginnings, Sparta quickly evolved into a unique and powerful entity, governed by 2 kings and a society entirely dedicated to the supremacy of the state and the art of war. This commitment was absolute. From the moment of birth, a Spartan's life was in the hands of the state. Infants were examined for physical defects. Those deemed unfit were said to be abandoned, a harsh practice meant to ensure only the strongest survived. This process culminated at age 7 with the Agoge, a brutal military education program that separated Spartan warriors from all other Greeks. Boys were surrendered by their parents to the state, where they were forged into soldiers. They were taught that allegiance to Sparta outweighed all else: family, wealth, or personal glory. This instilled a blind dedication and elite combat prowess that made them the most effective warriors in the ancient world. Their legend was cemented in 480 BCE at the Battle of Thermopylae. King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, alongside a small force of Greeks, held the massive Persian army of Xerxes at bay for 3 days. Their sacrifice became a timeless symbol of courage, buying Greece crucial time to organize and ultimately repel the invasion. However, this victory set the stage for future conflict. In the ensuing decades, Sparta and Athens emerged as rival superpowers. Their competing ambitions erupted into the devastating Peloponnesian Wars. After decades of grueling conflict, Sparta emerged victorious in 404 BCE, thanks in part to a rebuilt navy that defeated the Athenians at Agoge. Sparta stood triumphant, the undisputed hegemon of Greece. Yet, this victory was the beginning of the end. The wars had bled Sparta dry. Spartan citizens, the full-blooded soldiers who had undergone the Agoge, were a tiny minority to begin with, and catastrophic losses in battle caused their numbers to plummet. Their greatest strength, an exclusive citizenship based on pure bloodline and rigorous training, became their greatest weakness. The rigid rules of the Agoge made it impossible to quickly replenish their ranks. To fill their armies, Sparta was forced to rely heavily on helots and mercenaries, who lacked the training and loyalty of true Spartans. Furthermore, victory corrupted Spartan society. The traditional values of discipline and equality gave way to greed and a thirst for personal wealth. A stark wealth gap emerged. As families grew poorer, they could no longer afford the armor required for their sons to enter the Agoge, further shrinking the pool of new warriors. The state, now an empire, was overextended and rotting from within, its leaders more interested in personal power than in preserving the legacy of Leonidas. This weakened Sparta met its match in the rising city-state of Thebes. At the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BCE, the brilliant Theban general Epaminondas employed innovative tactics to shatter the once-invincible Spartan phalanx. For the first time in living memory, a Spartan army was decisively defeated in a major battle. King Leonidas was killed, and the myth of Spartan invincibility was broken forever. The defeat at Leuctra was a death blow. Epaminondas marched into Spartan territory, liberating the helots who formed the economic backbone of their society. Sparta's allies deserted them, and its empire crumbled overnight. So desperate did they become that former rivals Sparta and Athens allied to fight Thebes. But even this was not enough. The following centuries saw Sparta diminish to a mere local power, constantly scheming to regain a sliver of its former glory. Its last independent king, the tyrannical Nabis, was assassinated in 192 BCE after a failed attempt to expand. Sparta was eventually absorbed into the Roman Republic after the Laconian War, stripped of its independence and kept under close watch. Though later granted nominal independence by Rome, Sparta was a shell of its former self. A final insult came in 267 CE when the Goths raided and sacked the city, proving it could no longer even defend its own homeland. The fall of one of history's greatest warrior civilizations was complete. They had risen to incredible heights through unmatched discipline, but their inability to adapt their rigid system to a changing world ensured that their greatest strength would also be their ultimate ruin. Yet, their legend, forged in steel and sacrifice, endures.
If you love this dive into the past, hit that like button, subscribe for more epic histories.